turnovers. Seattle didn't score a touchdown until the fourth quarter, and the loss drops them to second in the NFC West. While the Giants, who were without Daniel Jones, have now won 4 straight and are on top in the NFC East. So, Acho, were you impressed with the Giants or disappointed in the Seahawks?
Big bro, I'm torn on this one. I'm torn because the Seahawks, incredibly disappointing, but I'm going to go with I'm impressed by the Giants, man. And I have to say this, number one, because Giants fans have been killing me on Twitter. I've seen the tweets.
Yes,
okay, they've been telling me to take a lap. I'm going to take my lap as soon as the world becomes more COVID safe. Kudos to Joe Judge. Kudos to Colt McCoy. Hasn't won a game since 2014. He goes to Seattle, flies across the country, and upsets the Seahawks in one of the biggest upsets all season. I saw the Seahawks were 11-point favorites going into that game. I'm impressed by the Giants. Their defense, outstanding. It's not just good, it's elite. I'm impressed by the Giants because their running game, 122 yards on the ground by their leading rusher alone. I'm impressed by the Giants because their passing game, look at Colt right there, efficient, gets the ball out, scored immediately. The Seahawks were disappointing. I'll get to that on my second lap. But on my first lap, you got to think about the Giants. Won 4 straight games in a row. Their 2 losses prior to their 4-game win streak by a combined 3 points. Their loss prior to that by 3 points total, meaning their last 3 losses by a combined 6 points. This Giants team is incredibly impressive. I understand they are only 5-7, but Joe Judge and all that ridiculous madness from this offseason, it appears to be working. I was beyond impressed by the Giants yesterday.
Me? I was just disappointed in the Seahawks. I wasn't torn on this one like you were, Acho. Like you've been torn. Should I have the glasses on or take the glasses off? Depends on what block it is. Already, you're over there torn about with your wardrobe. Me? I make definitive decisions, and I use my assessments from not only my source of my eyeballs and my experience, but also the sources of other players and other coaches. So it's time to get the quote machine out right now when we're talking about Russell Wilson, who is in a mini slump right now. Let's just be real about it. Russell Wilson came into this game, last 4 games, he had, 5 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. He leaves this game with another loss and now only 6 touchdowns and 5 interceptions for Russell Wilson in the last 5 games. In the same season, he was leading the MVP race. In the same year where he's still making an average of $35 million a year. You don't get away with that when that's your price tag. So, yeah, I'm disappointed in letting Russ cook because this is what's turned up. A burnt meal. Like, the meal is a mess right now if you can see what they were and what they are right now. And it's all because they let Russ cook. It's amazing. I told you this before, and I predicted this, and I didn't want to be right, but history told me I would be right. Russell Wilson will start off hot, will put himself in the pole position of an MVP conversation. But he's going to finish lukewarm, if not colder than that. I didn't expect this right now. Let's get to that quote by their coach, Pete Carroll, who goes out there and says, looking at Russell Wilson quote, throwing the ball was a struggle. Woo! An MVP candidate, $35 million man, and your coach comes out and says throwing the ball was a struggle. That is a bullseye on one player and one player only in Russell Wilson. He also said Russell Wilson is taking too big of sacks in terms of the monster losses and sack yardage. You remember playing Madden back in the days, like before Madden got all professional and it started to imitate and replica exactly what the game is on the field. But before that, like Madden 95, when I used to play in college, shoo, you go back 20, 30, 40 yards and still could complete a pass. That's how Russell Wilson's playing right now, like Madden 95. Like he going back 20, 30 yards. Oh, I'm going to run around. I can elude. I have the best deep arm ball. I'm going to make it happen. And boom, all of these sacks for big yardage losses are starting to add up on top of the fact that he feels gun shy. He's not pulling the trigger the same. He's trying so hard to cut back on turnovers that he's actually messing up. Come on, man. You're not expecting this of an MVP or franchise quarterback.
Here is why I can't agree with that take you just had, because there was one major lie which told me the whole take might have been a lie.
Your glasses?
You said I didn't want to be right. No.
Oh.
Marcellus said I didn't want to be right. I've never heard Marcellus Wiley say I did not want to be right.
I have no ego.
You sir, live to be right. Shut up, Sel. But here is the issue, because some of what you said, although that was a lie, you said a lot of truth. Think about this. The Seattle Seahawks, their first 17 offensive drives, 9 touchdowns. Their first 17 drives of the season, they had 9 touchdowns. Their last 17 drives of the season, they have 1 touchdown. Now, I don't attribute this all to letting Russ cook, because they've stopped letting him cook as of late. They stopped letting him cook as much. I attribute this to the fact that the Seahawks just are not as good as we thought they were. And early on in the season, we're like, oh, the Seahawks blew out the Falcons. Oh, the Seahawks played well against the Cowboys. Oh, the Seahawks played well against the Patriots. Then we look up, Falcons got what, about 3 wins on the season? Patriots, they've won 5 out of 6 and still only got 6 wins on the season. And the Cowboys, well, we know what the Cowboys are. But the Seahawks, since week 7, they only teams with more losses than them in the NFC, the Bears and the Panthers. For that reason, I'm disappointed in the Seahawks. If you are going to be a dominant team, you cannot play with your food. And the Giants, that should have been baby food for the Seahawks. I understand the Giants are tough. I understand the Giants are well coached, but the Giants don't have Saquon Barkley. The Giants don't have their top 5 quarterback. The Giants don't have any really big name players on defense. They got Jabril Peppers. They got Blake Martinez. Like, they got guys, but they got a bunch of tryhards. But remember what I said, Sel. Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. I'm not saying the Seahawks aren't working hard, but the Seahawks are far too talented, paying players far too much money, like you said, Russell Wilson, to get beat by the Giants. That is problematic, especially if you're at home.
Yeah, you know what's interesting about this, and it's an unfortunate coincidence for Russell Wilson, but I look back at his career record, and it's amazing. 94 wins, 45 losses, and 1 tie. And obviously the Super Bowl championship so close to having 2. But then if you really dive into it, you start to see that there was only 1 year that Russell Wilson hasn't made the playoffs, had the winning record, but still didn't make the playoffs, 2017. What happened in 2017? Oh, the most pass attempts for Russell Wilson, quote unquote, let Russ cook 1.0. And now we're back there with a louder megaphone, louder volume. Let Russ cook 2.0. And what's happening right now to this Seahawks team is not a positive thing. Russell Wilson continues to go back to some of the issues that he had all the way in 2012, where he didn't exactly fill out the rush properly, or he gets a little gun shy, or more importantly, as we saw since the Rams and Bills games, because of all the turnovers, they start to strip the offense down, become run dominant, and say, hey, we're not going to let Russ cook because Pete Carroll's formula is to run the football and play strong defense. Well, they're not built necessarily to do just that. And there has to be a balancing act, a happy medium between what Russell Wilson can do when he cooks and what he's doing right now, which is turn the ball over or not play efficient, effective quarterback. So I don't know what the answer is for this team, but with the stretch run that they have in front of them, and it's an easy-ish type of schedule because obviously you get to play the Jets, you get to play the Washington team in there. They have to figure this out, Acho. If they don't figure this out right now, let Russ cook, and the MVP is going to be the least of their worries. It's going to be, what are we doing as a team going forward?
Well, I'm going to say this, because you know Marcellus Wiley, regardless of where I am located, my takes are like a cake. They're going to be layered. First, I told you about the Giants, and I told you about the Seahawks. Let me go back to telling you about these Giants. The Giants have allowed under 20 points for 7 of their games.
Okay.
What that tells me is there's only one other team in the NFL has done that. What that tells me is the Giants are legit. Beyond that, I talked about a winning recipe. I got a full screen for you because the Giants team, they play winning football. It wasn't just the Seahawks sucking. The Giants made the Seahawks perform as they did. Talk about turnover differential since week 9. Giants are first. Time of possession, Giants are second. Rush offense, Giants are third. Points allowed, Giants are fourth. To win football games, win turnover potential, run the ball, stop the run. Giants are doing all of those things. So yes, Russ burned another meal yesterday, but I think the Giants played a factor in that.
Yeah, they play. I mean, look, the Giants were out there playing great defense in this new culture that I told you. You are on record. You are circulating the airwaves right now by saying that Joe Judge and the Giants were going to go 2-14. Boy, did you stamp that, too. 2-14. How you like them apples right now, Joe? Well, they got my boy viral for the wrong reasons on that one. But that said, we all make mistakes. I ain't mad at you. You know, I learned in this world how this is a negative-based society. And that doesn't mean you have to be negative in terms of being a pessimist. But understand the balancing act between having positive works versus negative works and how to balance that out, how to reconcile positive with negative. And it's amazing. You could go throughout your entire year. Let's use a calendar year where for 364 days, you can be a positive citizen, a great role model, and do all the right things. But that one day where you're off your game, what did you do during that one day can undermine everything else that you have done up to that point. It's crazy. Privately, I'll tell you some of my moments that almost undermine the entire year for me or more based on what occurred. But let me tell you what has occurred for Russell Wilson right now. This is crazy because there is a yin and yang right now in terms of Russell Wilson this season. Look at him in his wins versus look at him in his losses. Completion percentage. Oh, my God. Is that a 10-point drop, basically? Passing yards. Same dude? Nah, I don't think so. Touchdown to interception, passer rating, interception, passer. You get it. The point is, letting Russ cook. Franchise quarterback, $35 million man a year, and MVP frontrunner at one time, and still a candidate, cannot put up those numbers that show that wide a disparity. Coming up, Doug Peterson switched quarterbacks yesterday, but we'll tell you if we agree with the decision to finally bench Carson Wentz.